Hello, are you someone who is suffering from Bell's palsy or else facial paralysis and you are finding difficult to do this action like this? Then you are having weakness of a muscle called as levator labii superioris. And if you who are someone who is suffering from synkinesis, then this action will automatically happen whenever you will attempt a movement around your eyebrows, like raising the eyebrow or else trying to close the eyes. You might feel a pull sensation happening there, and in that scenario, it's a synkinesis that's happening. Now, in both the scenario, what should be done for this muscle is something that I'm going to discuss in this video. So let's get started. Friends, Bell's palsy is a very weird situation. Here your muscles are weak and paralyzed, but they cannot be rested. The reason being, you're constantly working with your good side of the face, and each movement on the good side of the face reinforce actions on the affected side of the face. Now, when your muscles are weak or paralyzed, they don't have that strength to lift that particular region of the face at its fullest capacity. That's where whenever you try to show your teeth like this side strongly lifts up, but this side doesn't. This is particularly due to this weakness of this muscle that I told about, which is levator labii superioris. This muscle starts from the side of the nose here over this area and then attaches to the upper lip region. This particular muscle is responsible for your disgusting expression and doing action wherever you have to raise your upper lips like this. Now, when your muscles are weak and paralyzed, you will observe that this will limit your ability in your communication too. But unfortunately, when this muscle don't resolve for a long period of time and turns into synkinesis, this muscle contracts involuntarily whenever you do actions around the forehead and eye region, which is called as synkinesis. Now, working on this muscle is extremely important because when you suffer from Bell's palsy, you very much focus on your smile but rarely focus on these muscles, and if you do focus, you end up doing forceful exercises which do more harm to your muscles than doing good. That's why doing right practice is extremely important. So now let's see what are the practices that you can do to activate these muscles. At the same time, I'll also tell you what to do when this muscle gets activated unwantedly whenever you are trying to do movements around your forehead and eyes. So let's first talk about activation of this muscle. Now, if you are suffering from initial phase of Bell's palsy, or else let's say your Bell's palsy is not healed or recovered for a long period of time and you don't see this movement happening, then in that case also the nerve might be weak and it has not reached to the point. But that's not also the case. Many times the nerve has reached, it's just that the nerve has forgotten the address and that's why it's not activating. That's why in order to activate this muscle, these are the 5 steps that you should follow on a regular basis. So, step number 1 is sensory activation of this area. Now, what do I mean by that? The more you touch and feel this muscle, the more awareness that your brain gets that this is the muscle that I need to send my power to, and that helps the nerve to send those right signals and activate the muscle. That's why doing a gentle stroking from down to upward direction like this is the first step that you should do. This particular step can be followed whether you are in the initial phase of Bell's palsy or you are in the late stage of Bell's palsy. Remember, it should not be forceful, it's just gentle stroking that you will do on this region. Now, apart from hand, you can use different tools like a gua sha tool, vibration tool, a brush, anything. Different textures should be used here in order to activate and give more and more sensory priming to this area. When you do this in front of mirror and you slightly lift, the muscle also gets an idea where it needs to move, because muscle memory is something that usually gets impacted in Bell's palsy, right? Now, once that is done, the next step is tapping. Now, tapping is the next level of sensory priming where you are increasing the awareness of the muscle. So, tapping the muscle multiple times in a day is a good practice to activate it. Alright, now what's the next thing that we need to do? We need to passively move this muscle to get an understanding where exactly this muscle needs to move whenever you do this action. Now, when you do this, make sure that you're thinking of an disgusting expression which will give your brain the idea, the context that it needs while activating this muscle. Always you can think of any situation where you need to do this action. For example, brushing your teeth. Do this 10 to 15 times and you're good to go. Then comes your number 4 is stretching of this muscle. Now, this is a very unique thing. Whenever you stretch a muscle, it also increases the awareness of the muscle. Sometimes this muscle also gets pulled in upward direction whenever you are in the later stages of Bell's palsy and you are developing synkinesis. Stretching helps to feel that muscle further. So, how to stretch it? Take your thumb, place it inside your mouth like this. Hold your finger, pull it down. Feel the pull of the muscle and then gently lift. Pull, lift, pull, lift, pull, lift, pull, lift, pull and lift. Yes, that was your step number 4. This helps your brain to identify the muscle in much more better way. That takes me to step number 5, and that is actually activating this muscle. Now here you have to follow either of the 3 rules. Number 1 is passive rule, which means if your muscle is not active at all or else you are in the early phase of Bell's palsy, then you should do a passive pull. Passive pull is where you are using your finger to lift this up and down. You are not attempting anything to do by yourself. It's just the hand which is doing the action. Next comes active assisted pull. Here you're using 50% of your hand, 50% of your strength to do this. Now here it's very important that you should know the present strength of this muscle. And to test this, it's always good to work with a physical therapist who is trained and is expert in the facial rehabilitation. That's where I would recommend you that you can take an evaluation session where the therapist can identify the strength of the muscle and can suggest you which type of exercise should be done at the stage where you are at for this muscle. It's very likely that you might not need to do this exercise at all if you are in a mid stage of Bell's palsy, which is very difficult to judge without physical evaluation. That's why I would highly recommend you that please see a therapist and then only start these exercises. However, some of the practices that I'm telling you are safe. What the exercises I'm going to show you right now is also almost safe. Just be little cautious that when you're doing this exercise, if you feel any extra contraction anywhere else in the face, please stop doing it, don't do it further. So, how to do that? I'm going to place the finger again here and I'm going to put 50% of effort of mind and 50% support of hand while doing this disgusting expression. This way you are further guiding the muscle to move in its right direction. And relax. And now the third is the active one. Now here is the trickiest part. Active exercise is not something that should be done by everyone until unless there is a possible momentous movement present there. So at this stage, what you should do is you should just practice an imitation of an expression, which is disgust, just by 5 to 10%. What do I mean by that? So what is a 100% movement? It's this, right? You should not do that. Instead, what you should do is, keeping your lips sealed, just try to lift the upper lip upwards and then come back. Now again, the rule that you should follow and remember is that no other area on the face should contract while you are doing this practice. This will limit the right pattern develop. Stop immediately if you feel any other part of the face is moving. Again, I'm telling you, facial exercises are tricky. If done wrong, can do more harm than doing good. So please work with a therapist and work under somebody's guidance. And that takes me to what you should do whenever this muscle is moving involuntarily, which means that which is moving out of your control. Let's say when you are trying to raise your eyebrows, when you are trying to close your eyes, if you feel a pull sensation in this region, what you should do? The easiest step is to just hold this area and practice doing the movements where this pull is happening, like this or else with eye closure. Now the hand basically acts as an inhibitory tool which is trying to stop the movement which is happening without your will. And when this is practiced for a long period of time, then slowly the brain starts recognizing that this is not how the facial muscles are supposed to move. So to summarize, we have to do two types of practice. Number one is sensory priming and number two is activation. Activation is needed only when the muscle is weak, and inhibition is needed when your muscle is contracting involuntarily. Now, which muscle is active, which muscle is working involuntarily, what is the strength of this muscle? That can only be identified when a therapist does the evaluation. So it's ideal to work with a therapist. Again, I'm repeating this myself because I want you to know this, that facial rehabilitation is a tricky thing. It is not that straightforward as a lot of people think of. That's why doing right exercise is far more important than doing more repetition of exercises. So what are you waiting for? If you feel that you need further help on your Bell's palsy and kinesis, feel free to reach out to us. The link to our website is mentioned in the description box. Book an evaluation form and take your session to get a personalized guidance on what should be done for your face. On that note, I'll end this video here and I'll see you in another video. Thank you.